This is for ATG staff, ATG coaches, and those of you out there using ATG to help those around you, even if ATG is not your profession. So, why an ATG code? This is not a code for me to judge you. In fact, the code is based on mistakes I've made versus what made things go right. And that's not the why, though. The why is that we've still got much bigger goals ahead than we've accomplished so far. So it's going to be very meaningful for us to do it right and to succeed in those goals. Those goals, I'll get more specific now. We set out with this ambitious goal of educating millions of people on the truth about knees over toes and how it is a scale of pain-free ability, not an all or nothing. We have succeeded in that. This code is based on why we succeeded with that. What didn't work with that? Thank you for that. This is really what made it work, is this group concept. It wasn't me just accomplishing this. I was proposing the ideas. It was all common sense stuff that all of us were able to understand and then teach others, coach others, spread in person, on social media. That worked, but that's not our biggest goal here. I thought that was the biggest goal. I thought, okay, now I can just chill out, go to the gym, keep running ATG, keep life simple and easy. But that was just one problem, and here's the bigger problem that you and I are going to take up now, and it'll probably take us another 10 plus years. It was 10 plus years for me, starting with myself and then other ATG staff and coaches, to get to the point where we educated millions on the knees over toes thing. Well, in the 1960s, JFK was making measurable progress with youth fitness. And in our case, we're trying to help everyone, youth, adults, longevity. But those youth, if we educate youth, that's going to have a ripple effect into adults, into longevity. And I think all of us getting educated here, this is how we help millions of youth, is by us adults learning this stuff and then educating and implementing it with the kids. Well, JFK had this booklet. He had 2 circulatory exercises, 3 kind of zones of testing for kids, like sprint, jump, throw, and then 10 bodyweight exercises. So since the 60s, here we are now 60 plus years later, and youth health stats have kept going down. So here I'm assigning me and I'm assigning you our next ridiculous, impossible goal. Over the next 10 years, let's make a measurable improvement of youth fitness. Now, I'm not sure the exact best way to measure it, but for starters, if I can at least give you a visual concept, like how many youth today can do a pull-up. 10 years from now, there better be more youth that can do a pull-up than right now. That's our next mission. So as you can see, this becomes now a much bigger goal than I thought what our goal. I thought our goal was educating on knees over toes and how you can use a full range of motion, and we have educated millions on that. But yet, as a broad thing, fitness is still not having positive results compared to where we were. So as far as our basis, we're going to pick back up where JFK left off. It was already working. We're going to pick back up where he left off. We're simply going to add scalability to all those steps so that everyone in the family can do it, so that the kid who can't even hang from a bar could start hanging from a bar with the toes on the ground, and then take a big win when they can hang from the bar and have the feet off the ground and fully hang. So it's not just, all right, let's just push every kid to try to do a pull-up. Having that goal of doing a pull-up, that'll be one of our 10 body weight goals for kids. But the scalability is really key. So that's the why for the code, is that, oh boy, it kind of dawned on me about last week when it hit me of like thinking we had achieved our biggest goal to realizing that our goal now is way bigger than anything we've accomplished so far, So we better be a stellar group and be on the same page. So let's get into the first point. And for each point, I will give an example of, even for myself, like where I've gone right, where I've gone wrong, and how that related to achieving what we achieved so far. So number one, whether you're at a party and someone's asking about ATG, or you're helping someone in the gym, or you're making a social media post, challenge yourself to teach and sell with honesty alone. Now, we'll get into exact examples. How did this relate to things going right? Well, our big mission was educating on the truth about knees over toes. So this really resonated with people, that we were trying to supply true data about knees over toes. Any marketing, any explaining to people along the lines of me or you showing what we can do with our knees now, showing how it's step by step, that's really what moved the needle, not the headlines of videos. So an example, I've had some YouTube experts look at titles of videos of mine and try to correct them by using dishonesty. So most recent video I just published, for example, I titled it the 10 mobility exercises I've done most over the last 10 years. So that's an honest title. That won't get as fast of views as fix your mobility fast, guaranteed the only 10 mobility exercises you'll ever need. That is word for word using what YouTube experts would have titled my video. So we're in a field where dishonesty is the norm. I've been dishonest to degrees, and those are actually the points where I've lost people, not gained support. Dr. Mike Israetel, along with ATG, Dr. Mike Israetel, I feel like, and in many ways he's a bigger leader than I am. You can check out his YouTube. Renaissance Periodization is the name of his group's YouTube channel. He has over 2 million YouTube followers. He did a review on me. Fortunately, it was very positive, but he pointed out one line I said 4 years ago where I said, anyone can be a world-class athlete. Now, where was that coming from for me? That was coming from a little anger I had from a high school coach who laughed at the idea that I would ever dunk a basketball. That was also coming from the fact that in Olympic triple jump, the world record still stands from the 1990s from a guy named Jonathan Edwards. His country, England, they told him they would not sponsor him. There was no point in him pursuing triple jump because his bones and his muscles had no chance of being competitive in that sport. He didn't give up. By his fourth Olympics, he won gold. He kept getting better and kept getting better and kept getting better and kept getting better. That was one of the reasons I became fascinated with the Nordic, because he did the Nordic hamstring curls in his body weight regimen, along with like jumping jacks and push-ups and stuff. This was this was like so easy for him as part of his routine, and he kept doing this routine for decades. So that is the data that sold people, and the more honestly I could explain Jonathan Edwards' story, the more someone might want to train the hamstrings, not the more I bend the truth on a statement. So it's really important for us to go forward that if we want to help millions of kids, we have to challenge ourselves. Every video, every person that we teach to use honesty. So as you can see, this is not for me to judge you on, because I've made this mistake, but the reason things did go right on knees over toes was because I supplied more honesty on that subject than had been broadly applied. And not just me, you all. So the more we put out honesty on the subject of knees over toes, the better things went. That's ultimately why we made such a big change. There shouldn't have been a need for ATG, because college exercise science did do the research, did find out that knees over toes actually was fine. It just didn't then spread that truth. So we had to step in, spread that truth. And also, which leads us to number 2, scalability. That's our job. So a scale. So you have like low levels, you have high levels. It's not an all or nothing. So knees over toes prevailed for decades as number one, with a lot of being told no knees over toes, and number two, with thinking that it's like you either can or can't do it. There was never a broad understanding of a scale of ability. So that's our job. That's going to keep us out of a lot of difficulties. Every day on social media, I'm asked so many medical questions. It would be easier to get someone to sign up if they say, I have patellar tendonitis. Can knee ability fix that? Yes, it can fix that. No, we can't pretend to be medical. If anyone in person or online brings something to you that's medical, that's not our job. So we would be deviating on the honesty factor, but we'd be deviating from what worked. What worked was not coming out and talking about medical issues. What worked for us was teaching people how to scale ability. Can you walk? Okay. Can you walk backward? Could you take an inch step backward? If you can walk backward, that is, your knee is over your toe. So if you could walk backward, that is some degree of ability of knees over toes. Could you now drag a 1 pound weight on the floor? Could you drag a sled? Could you eventually do a step down of a couple inches? Could you eventually use a chair and just get into holding an ATG split squat? Could you eventually get motion into that? So collectively, we've done thousands of videos, educated millions of people on how to scale the ability of the knee to go over the toes without working through pain in the process and without promising medical outcomes. So if we deviate from that as our job, I don't like our chances as much. So honesty in selling and explaining ATG, and continuing to teach how to scale ability. And we're specifically talking about the ability that someone has that is not painful, and trying to build on that. And then number three, and this is it. These are the three biggies. These are the three biggest common denominators I could find between what made things go right. And when we deviated from these, we didn't get as good of results. 3 is don't criticize. I almost went down this path before knees over toes blew up in awareness. I had some frustrations with something out there that to me was misleading. And it was from another coach. And part of this, I'm not going to give you the details on it, because I remember making an article about it that probably 10 people read, and I immediately removed the article because something didn't sit right with me. That if I'm trying to sell people on ATG by making a competing program look bad, it was like the easy way out. And something about that just felt wrong. That can obviously work to some degree, but the point is I stopped right then and there. I didn't go through with it, and you can scour my Instagrams and my YouTubes. And even though it's the norm in fitness to critique and criticize other people, that was not part of our success. It wasn't needed. So whether that could work or not, of criticizing other coaches and attacking other people and pointing out what's wrong with other programs and other systems of fitness, that simply wasn't part of our journey. So if we went back to that now, that could be a huge mistake. So for example, talking about trying to pick back up where JFK left off, I'm not going to make a post showing bad things about the current system, or attacking whoever. I don't know who is responsible for the U.S. government's education and health for kids. And it's not that we might not get some traction with that, but that didn't work for ATG and knees over toes. So the route of trying to criticize other people, no. All our content, all our education, I'm going to be teaching kids, I'm going to be making videos, writing articles, helping my kids, helping tons of other kids, just in a positive way, teaching them. We're going to pick back up where JFK left off, and we're not going to spend that time criticizing what other people are doing in terms of youth fitness or fitness as a whole. Because since all the stuff we're going to be doing to pick back up where JFK left off is scalable, this is going to be just as usable by kids, adults, grandma and grandpa. So there you go. that was what I wanted to cover. So we're going to leave it there. Do you have any sign-off words? It's just you and me talking right now. I'm going to keep this up to date. You and I being on the same page is pretty crucial for this. So if I did have a change of opinion, if I did observe something else, that would be my responsibility to update you. This is on observing basically 10 plus year journey so far. I think our goal is wild, but I think our goal is, I almost feel like we have, since we have some small shot at measurably changing youth fitness stats, and in doing so, it would have ramifications on adults as well. Even if we have a tiny shot, we have a shot. So I feel like we're obligated to go for it. So that's me and that's you. And if you use any of this stuff to come when it comes to helping youth fitness or using this, our ATG physical fitness program, mimicking JFK's, but using everything we know, anyone you help this with, keep us posted on it. It's going to take a lot of energy to keep going. I think it's going to take at least a decade for us to make really solidly measurable changes. So that's almost my last point. It's just, in some way, shape, form, let's try to stay super tight, you and I, even though it seems difficult in this modern social media world. Whether you have my number, whether it's messaging into the team, you out there using this, that's the only way we really have a shot, is with all of us trying, all of us making some degree of forward progress. If every one of us doing ATG makes some degree of forward progress on this with the people around us, that might do it. We might get somewhere. So keep us posted, because with our staff, those little victories that you have out there is the big boost that's going to keep us going too. And I'll do the same. So thanks for listening. Thanks for using ATG to be on this mission with us and try to do something that hasn't been done in 60 plus years. But I think the kids deserve it. So let's go for it.